I'm back with another Disney ASMR video. So, a few weeks ago, I did an ASMR story time from this old Disney, or I should say retro Disney World book, and I did I read all of the sections for Epcot Future World. So I thought that today I would go ahead and do the read through, or like show and tell, of World Showcase. So as we established in the previous video from Future World, this book was made in 1985 because it talked about an attraction that opened in 1986. It said it was coming soon, so I think this was made in approximately 1985. So some of the countries in World Showcase did not exist when this book came out, so I thought it'd be interesting to take a look back and see which countries did exist. So, Epcot Center World Showcase. It would take a lifetime of vacations to explore the many countries of the world. For travelers to Epcot Center's World Showcase, however, the dream of travel For travelers to Epcot Center's World Showcase, however, the dream of world travel comes true. Here, amid nations standing in friendship beside a broad lagoon, we meet gaily costumed young people who have actually come from the World Showcase countries. It is their charm and friendliness that form bonds stretching to all people everywhere. So, in the pictures, we have China, we have Germany, we have France, we have Japan, and we have Canada. So it starts with the American Adventure. Through a multitude of entertainment media never before realized, collectively on stage, we witness the events that shaped America, the land of freedom. The American Adventure combines large screen projection with inspiring music and special effects. It also presents performances by the most lifelike audio animatronic figures ever developed. Benjamin Franklin and Mark Twain, two of America's most eloquent spokesmen, lead a cast of more than 35 full-sized historic performers. Franklin actually walks in this show, a major milestone in audio animatronics engineering. With its deep-seated patriotism and acknowledgement of the contributions of all men, the American Adventure stands as the unification of the World Showcase. So, the show in American Adventure is the one with Benjamin Franklin and Mark Twain. And it's in this theater. There's a couple scenes from the show here. And then this is what the outside of the building looks like. And we've got the people in fancier costumes, I think, are the Voices of Liberty, the singing group that performs inside the rotunda. So I worked as a cast member in American Adventure for a while, and my biggest pet peeve was when people would say, "Oh, it's the Hall of Presidents," because it's not. It's a completely different show. And people used to try to argue with us, and they would say, "Well, when Epcot opened in the 70s," which wrong, because Epcot opened in 1982, but okay. And they'd say, like, "Well, when Epcot opened, it was originally the Hall of Presidents." No, the Hall of Presidents has always been in Magic Kingdom. the American Adventure show has always been in the American Adventure Pavilion, so no guest, we did not move it. And people would get like really upset about that, and it's like, no, sorry, you're wrong. Alright, so that's the American Adventure. Next we have Mexico. Within the majestic Pyramid of Mexico lie the relics of lost civilizations, together with the bold new emblems of a country moving proudly into its future. Folkloric groups from Veracruz and Yucatan performed their festive numbers as flower-laden boats whisk us off on a cruise through the rich heritage of ancient, colonial, and modern Mexico. So, the boat ride in Mexico was originally different. It was originally much more educational. It didn't have the 3 caballeros in it like it does today. I believe it was called El Rio del Tiempo or something. It was like the river through time. So the funny fact about the pyramid in Mexico. So if you go now, you'll notice that there's little placards all over, like around here and here and on the back sides too, that say no climbing. And I was actually there the day that the need for those placards arose. So I was working in Epcot during Food and Wine, which the Food and Wine Festival is, it's interesting. If you're a guest, I mean, there's a lot more people than usual trying to drink around the world, and there's more food and drink stands, and so drinking around the world, instead of like a drink in every country, it's a drink in every country and a drink at every stand, and that's a lot of drinks. And so there's a lot of people that are intoxicated. And this guy, who had had a little too much, he thought that it would be interesting to try and climb, because I don't know, you can't really see very well in this picture, but there is kind of like a step pattern on the side of the pyramid, and honestly you're not meant to climb it, but he thought it would be interesting. And I remember hearing over the ops radio, like, we have a band scaling the pyramid in Mexico. So yeah, that is the story behind why those signs were there, because they did not exist before about 2013 or 2014. So that's the Mexico Pavilion. Next we have China. From the moment we pass through the ceremonial gate of China, the mystery and serenity of this ancient country is felt. 3 towering rocks stand at the entrance, looking much like the ones with which ancient rulers ornamented their ceremonial palaces. The beautiful waterfalls, reflecting ponds and gardens, further enhance the atmosphere of peace and tranquility. So the Chinese pavilion still looks similar today. There's a museum part where you can see like replicas of the terracotta warriors. This gate is still there today. And there's a film about the history of China, which is a pretty cool film. And Norway did not exist at this point, so next is Germany. A land of fantasy, folklore, and festivity, Germany entices visitors with its splendid scenery, enchants them with its storybook-like cities, and excites them with its spirited celebrations. When asked what comes to mind when we think of Germany, we are likely to mention picturesque villages, romantic castles, and lively beer gardens. Undoubtedly, we will think of the exquisite Black Forest, named for the majestic trees that cover that region. All the excitement and enchantment of this fairy tale country is captured in Germany at World Showcase. So, the Statue of the Knight is still there in Germany. Buildings still look really similar. Got the beer garden. So, if you are a Disney fan, you already know this, but for anyone else who's curious, originally when the German pavilion was being constructed, Disney had planned to make a boat ride in Germany. And so where you go in there's like an archway for the beer garden, and there's another archway that now it just leads you to where there's like a quick service restaurant, but originally that had planned to be open. And let me see if you can see it. It's like over here, but you can't really, or yeah, because here's the beer garden arch, and then it's this one. It was this one over there, and you can't really see it that much anymore. But like I mentioned, I worked in American Adventure, and up in the stockroom area, there's a part where you can still kind of see tracks, like where the ride was meant to go. And I believe the part of Beer Garden, like the reason why Beer Garden is so intricate and looks like a Bavarian village, I believe that the boat ride was supposed to go through there. But yeah, there's still like unfinished construction up in the stock rooms that we used to kind of look at when we were ahead on our work and we're kind of feeling curious. And next is Italy. Playful gondolas and their barber-striped moorings reflect the world of romance and classic grace that is Italy. We are invited to begin a love affair with Venice as we stand in the shadows of the breathtaking Campanile or Bell Tower in St. Mark's Square. I'm sorry if I butchered that. A recreation of the Doge's Palace, again sorry if I butchered that, stands at one side of the square, flanked by the well-known Lion of St. Mark's sculpture. Inside the palace is a treasure trove of fine art, jewelry, and crystal, and a wealth of culinary delights. So there's Italy. It still pretty much looks like this today, and the pavilion does. Originally, I believe there was supposed to be a gondola boat ride, but now, instead of a boat ride, which they don't have a picture of it here, but so all of the countries, they border World Showcase Lagoon, and so if you go, when you get to Italy, there's like this little kind of, I don't know what material it is, like stone I guess, little bridge that kind of goes out into the lagoon a little bit, and then there's some gondolas that are tied up there. And originally, I believe the intent was for those gondolas to be an actual attraction. Now they just sit there and they're just decoration. Okay, and then, so American Adventure comes next, but because it was first in the book, then the next country is Japan. Japan is often noted for its modern technology, bustling cities, and dynamic society. However, today's Japan has its roots in precious cultural values that have remained constant throughout centuries. These are an appreciation of beauty, a reverence for knowledge and learning, and a devotion to the arts. It is these values that are reflected in World Showcases Japan. So, similar to Germany, Japan also had a ride planned that did not pan out. So when you walk into the Japanese pavilion, on your right side, there's, let me see, is this, on your right side, there's this big store, and it goes along the whole right side of the pavilion. And then where the store ends, there's like this little space that's a museum, but the building that you come out of, it looks really huge. And apparently there was supposed to be an attraction in there originally, and it was gonna be, I believe it was gonna be called Meet the World. I think it actually does exist in Tokyo Disney. I have not been to Tokyo Disney yet, so I'm not sure. And it was gonna be a circular theater that moved, so kind of like Carousel of Progress. So that, I apparently plans for that. I don't have any sources to quote. These are just all things that like I kind of heard like when I worked at the World Showcase. So I mean, hearsay can definitely be wrong. But anyway, yeah, so apparently plans for that went pretty far, like into, like pretty close to Epcot's opening, and then it just never worked out. That's Japan. And Morocco. So it is called the Jewel of Africa. It is the land of Casablanca, Casablanca of towering minarets and sacred mosques, of tasty couscous and tangy fruit concoctions. Here in Morocco, we find an intriguing blend of old and new, where age-old customs and traditions mingle with modern thoughts and innovations. So, Morocco is unique because they actually sent over their own architects to assist with the building to make sure that it was authentic, as opposed to the other countries were just built by the Imagineers. And obviously you cannot see it in this photo because it's from, well, we established that this book is from the 80s, but in the early 90s, when Tower of Terror opened, you can now see Tower of Terror on the skyline, but because of the architectural style of Tower of Terror, it kind of fits. It kind of looks like it belongs in the Moroccan skyline. So, that's Morocco's fun little fact, I guess. Got France. France, Europe's oldest unified nation and Western Europe's largest, has been the center of Western culture for centuries, both as a major political power and as a leader in the arts and sciences. The French countryside is rich and fertile, and the country's famed capital, Paris, epitomizes beauty and grandeur. So, here is the French pavilion. There is still a mime that performs, and there's some acrobats that perform. I think it's just him. He just has an acrobatic thing that he does where he like stacks chairs and stuff. So there we go. We are going to be getting the Ratatouille ride like Disneyland Paris has. Construction, I believe, is pretty much done on it, but I think because of COVID, plans have been shifted a little bit, so I'm not entirely sure, but it's coming. And we've got United Kingdom. Green lawns, gabled rooftops, shops along cobblestone streets, and a charming waterside pub provide a typically British setting for the United Kingdom. United Kingdom represents the political unity of 4 regions: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Each country has its own glorious history, but it's the essence of the empire as a whole that is captured in World Showcase. So I love the United Kingdom Pavilion, mostly just because I love the UK. When I was in college or uni, I studied a year in London, and I traveled to pretty much every major city, at least in England. I didn't make it to Scotland, Ireland, or Wales, but every major city in England. The only thing that I wish that United Kingdom Pavilion had was some sort of ride or attraction. Because there is a band that performs in the gardens, but it doesn't even have like a movie like most of the countries do. And I know originally there was a plan for one, and I know now they're eventually, they want to add, there's like a Mary Poppins like cherry tree lane attraction that they want to add. I don't know if that's been put off or suspended because of COVID, but until they add that, it's mostly just at the pub and then shops. So I like the atmosphere because it reminds me of home, but not a whole lot to do. And then, last but not least, we have Canada. From a northwest Indian village to a 19th century French chateau and the winding narrow streets of Quebec City, the remarkable diversity of Canadian cultures and the awesome majesty of her wilderness are captured in Canada. The Canadian Pavilion is pretty cool as well. It has Le Cellier, which is a really popular sit-down restaurant. I tend to not really do sit-down restaurants when I go to Disney. So I'm not a huge foodie, so I would rather just kind of get Disney snacks and then eat them while I'm either walking to or in line to another attraction. So I have never really felt the desire to try to get reservations at Le Cellier, but I know it's popular. I liked the film that they had in Canada. I know it was taken out for a little bit for Food and Wine last year. I don't know if they're bringing it back or if there's a completely new one. But I loved the one with Martin Short. I thought it was hilarious. And I go to the store a lot in Canada because my mom collects moose things. And this building by the totem poles is a store that has a lot of cool moose things. So, with the exception of a few more Canada pictures, that is it for World Showcase. And from here is kind of when it goes into talking about the resorts, because Hollywood Studios, or MGM, did not exist at this point, and obviously neither did Animal Kingdom. So, I hope that you have enjoyed this little look at the World Showcase countries that existed in the mid-80s. Not a lot of differences to what we have now. I'd say the biggest difference that we have now is that they've tried to incorporate more of the Disney characters into World Showcase. So before, instead of it just being France, now there's a lot of like Belle and Marie and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, and then Germany is like full of like Rapunzel and Snow White and stuff like that. But other than that, no, I mean, well, obviously, and then Norway wasn't there yet, but other than that, no major changes. I hope that you have enjoyed this story time, and I will see you later with another Disney themed ASMR video. Bye, everybody.